In today's fast paced and demanding world, children's mental health and emotional well being have become increasingly important. Recognizing the need to equip children with emotional intelligence from an early age, we have the privilege of speaking with Chris Dixon, the author of That's Okay, a book he created to help children identify their feelings and encourage communication with parents and teachers. His goal is to nurture emotional intelligence, awareness, and confidence in children. This book, featuring wonderful, colorful creatures, serves as a practical, fun, and engaging guide for building emotional resilience. It aims to create a safe space for parents and children to discuss feelings and emotions. Having personally experienced mental health challenges and realizing the benefit of therapy, Chris understands the significance of emotional awareness and the lack of education around it in Western culture. So it is so wonderful to have Chris Dixon here at the summit. Welcome.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind your book, That's Okay, and also why you decided that you wanted to focus on children's mental health.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, it all stemmed from my own therapy during COVID. So I was experiencing mental health struggles through lockdowns in the UK. Yeah, really struggling to kind of process my own emotions.
Mhm.
So I sought out a therapist, a local therapist who helped me realized that I didn't really understand a lot of the time what I was feeling, like whether that was anger or sadness being equated to something. I couldn't make that link. Like I felt the physical symptoms, but I couldn't understand them. So the more and more I went to therapy, and he helped me kind of unpack those emotions and identify them. Got me thinking about Western culture and how, as a child myself, when I was younger, that we were never really taught about emotional intelligence or awareness. We're kind of just thrown out there and expected to learn it as we go. And as an adult, I find a lot of it is like if you are like upset, other people get uncomfortable with those emotions, and that restrains communication and things like that. So I wanted to utilize my joy of illustration and my imagination to reach children with this resource so they can build confidence with their own emotions and hopefully communicate with parents and teachers about how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's really wonderful that you were able to draw from your experience and just see how it could be beneficial for all of us. But starting early can really help because it's just resilience and courage and strength. Those are really like muscles that really need to be developed over time. So I really applaud you for seeing the link and seeing the benefit to teaching young children about this now. And so, what impact do you think it can have on their overall well-being when they do have emotional intelligence, particularly at a young age?
Yeah, I do think the younger they're taught it, yeah, the more impact it can have, and I think it can have an incredible impact based on like my own understanding and my own experience of not having those tools to tackle it, and how much it affected me negatively. Like I was getting quite ill, experiencing like headaches all the time, stomach aches. So I think it's yeah, it can have a massive impact if we start teaching children this at an early age, and I think it can also kind of impact on parenting as well. I think it might make things easier for parents if their child is confident with them to communicate what they actually want. I find a lot of the time that children will get upset over something which might not necessarily be the thing they are actually upset with. So it might be they might be annoyed that their toy isn't working properly, when they might have some other needs, but they just don't know how to process that and communicate. So I think the more and more they do that at an early age, I just think the confidence growth will be exponential. Like, it's like the more
Mhm.
you practice a sport, for example, like the better you get at it. And if you start that earlier, then you've got more time to practice that. Yeah, so I think the impact of it can be massive. And it seems like not an overly challenging thing to do at a young age,
Mhm.
to engage with a child, just to ask how they're feeling and stuff. I think the benefits of that can last for years into their adult life.
I agree with you. And I think it's even respectful to the idea that children have feelings and that that everything is not happy. Like we think children, they shouldn't have to worry about anything. Just be happy. Let us take care of everything else. And so the fact is, they are not always happy. They're not.
Mm,
They're disappointed. They feel a wide range of emotions, but don't, especially when they're young, don't always have the vocabulary and don't always feel comfortable being able to express disappointment. So I think it's very respectful, and I think also by helping them to get in touch at such an early age, it really positions them to really advocate for themselves out in the world too. So I like what you're talking about. Now, I know that That's Okay addresses various emotions and experiences that children may encounter. And how did you decide which ones were really important to include in the book? And how did you figure out how to make those emotions and those concepts relatable to young readers?
yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, trying to delve back into the thought process behind it all. I think it took a lot of processing kind of in my head about what emotions I value myself, and then thinking how common are those feelings with situations that other people might face. And I wanted a good balance of like emotions that are deemed as positive, like happiness and excitement, and also the more stigmatized emotions that people are uncomfortable with either talking about or approaching others to see if they're okay. Yeah, so I think I wanted to have a good mix of that, so that came into play, to kind of show that, being happy, it's just as important as being sad as well. That's just expressing anger or sadness, I think, is important for children too, so they don't suppress that. Yeah, so and I think I wanted to include ones that were quite simple to explain, because there's so many different emotions out there, and kind of hooking into like the more common emotions, and ones that are quite simple in terms of like anger, for example. I think a lot of people, they'll get upset when they're angry. They might get a hot head as well, like their body temperature rises. So picking the emotions that had explainable points on each one, and it can be easily demonstrated with a situation.
Mhm.
So there's a few factors that went into play with it. So yeah, the balance, the simplicity, and yeah, the common ground with the emotions were all factors in what helped me select them in the pages.
Mhm. So, are there any specific strategies or activities that parents could incorporate into their daily routine that would really help nurture emotional intelligence in their children, in addition to reading your book?
Yeah, I think based on the approach that my therapist took with me, just to give me a safe space to talk about it and yeah, not judge. I think the best tool is for parents and teachers, if they see a child getting upset, um, is to talk about them gently. If they don't want to talk about it, just give them time to let it off their chest or process it. If they want to sit quietly and not be bothered, that's fine. We shouldn't hassle them. So that's kind of in the moment approach, I think, is yeah, building that safety net where children learn more and more that okay, this is a safe place where I can express my emotions, and I know I'm not going to get told off for feeling how I feel. I think that's incredibly important that yeah, the child isn't reprimanded for feeling emotion because they are natural occurrences, and I think we've all been in a situation where we feel a certain way, and someone might have said, "Oh, don't cry" or something. That's not what we don't want to hear. We want to be like, "Oh, yeah, it's okay to cry, just let it all out," kind of thing. So I think that's probably the best tool is yeah, creating and nurturing that confidence, is creating that safe space. And then outside of that, like when the child has calmed down and they're in a more positive mood, then like talking of going back and revisiting it and talking it in a kind of a fun and engaging way. Like with my books, I've done coloring book versions as well, which could provide a good activity where there's blank spaces in the book where I've explained like so you might be upset if a friend moves away. But in the coloring book version, there'll be a blank space where the child can write um an incident where they'd feel that way. So I think that as an activity that kind of has multiple benefits. I think it gives a reference for the parents or the
Hmm.
teacher that that they can expect that if this incident has happened, and the child might be upset, or they might know what makes the child happy.
Hmm.
So in addition of that benefit, it also provides an outlet for the child to express their feelings on a colouring sheet. A lot of therapy techniques is all about
Hmm.
writing a letter. Like you don't have to send the letter off. You can screw the letter up, but it's just about getting those emotions and explaining them, and then once you're writing them or creating art around it through the coloring patterns, you start to like link to it a bit more, I think, and relate to it. It seems more real. So I think yeah, as an activity, I think art is incredibly important for young people's mental health and adults as well. Yeah, kind of encouraging that creativity
Hmm.
is a great activity to help with parent bonding as well. Like the parent can get involved with it. So yeah, doing art and colouring sheets, and also providing a safe space for the child is, I think, are all key.
That sounds good. It sounds like you've definitely included some activities in addition to reading the story of the book. So I wonder that I know that the book is geared toward children age 4 through 8, I believe. And so, was that a hard group, age group to write and illustrate for, given the sensitivity of the subject?
Yeah, it was quite a challenge. There's a few factors with the language. I didn't want to make it scary. Like I didn't want to frighten children with like the concept of anger or embarrassment and make them feel further ashamed. So I think yeah, there was a language that needed to be used to make it fun and engaging. And I remember sending it off the first draft to a friend of my sister's who works in social care, and
Mm.
she sent it round to her colleagues, and they gave
Oh,
loads of good feedback on the wording for that. So it was great to have that insight into it because I would have never been able to change the language based on my experience in that field.
right.
Yeah, so that was that helped overcome that problem.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the simplicity kind of yeah, it became more simplified throughout their feedback.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just made it a lot easier for a child to read.
Hmm.
And it was also a challenge setting the age because it's so long ago that I was that age and I have barely any memories of back then. So I initially set it as a 4 to 8 because that seemed like from the feedback I gave, that seemed like a good indicator. But then I made an animated version on YouTube.
Oh,
Um, and my friend, whose daughter, I think she was just turning 2 years old, she was watching the animation over and over and over again. So that made me feel like, oh, I've set it to 4 to 8, but this applies to a larger range than I thought could be. And she was like talking about the emotions. Yeah, she was absorbing the information and doing all the actions of the emotions and stuff, and it was really good to see that you can teach emotional intelligence to a preschooler, and that
Hmm.
filled me with a lot of hope. And yeah, so that kind of that helped with the challenge of the language and stuff, because it was like, okay, I can make it quite simple, and it will be for a larger audience. So yeah,
Hmm.
that really, there's a few things that I struggled with, but it's nudged me along, seeing the actual reaction from children and stuff, and seeing, okay, yeah, this is working now.
Hmm. Now, through your life experience and also really researching and working on this project, what would you say are some common misconceptions about children's mental health? I think a lot of people had some misconceptions, certainly before the pandemic. So, what have you seen? And then, how does your book aim to address or dispel those myths?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think like you were saying before, that a lot of people assume that children are happy all the time and stuff, when that's not the case. And I think people, when a child isn't happy, adults can get quite distressed by that. Like if a child is crying a lot, they can be like, oh, I don't know how to deal with that. So that was yeah, that was part of the kind of the challenge with that side of that, thinking of mental health, and also like the stigmatization of the feelings, like I was mentioning before about, oh, don't cry and stuff. You still get a lot of that. Yeah, so to overcome that, yes, so I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was wondering how in your book, how you were able to dispel those myths and
that's
like,
it. Yeah, yeah,
hmm.
yeah. So I think, yeah, through the fun characters and like the simple language used, yeah, it helped to kind of tackle those stigmas. Yeah, yeah. So I think it will also provide a tool for parents to talk to their children as well, and not kind of be tied to those myths and things. Yeah, I'm hoping that this would kind of be an activity that parents and teachers will get involved directly with the children, not just kind of leave them to read it on their own, but
Hmm.
yeah, tool to so they both understand each other.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because I think there's, with the stigmas around emotions, there's so much work to be done. um, I think even when we feel stuff, we say, "Oh, I'm not feeling that way," even though you are. Like, there's a lot of denial and things. And I think by encouraging adults to be proud of their emotions, and children can see that too. And over a few years, I hope that will dispel the stigmas and the myths even further.
Hmm. Now that the book has been published, what kind of feedback are you hearing from parents and teachers who've read it and who've read it to their children or worked with their children on it? And if there's any kind of anecdote that stands out for you, please share it.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the most standout kind of feedback is from the SEN community for like sensory. And like I've got a friend whose child has been diagnosed with autism, and he's fed back to me how much that book has increased his son's confidence in himself.
Okay.
Yeah, and is able to talk about his emotions, thanks this as a reference.
Hmm.
I also got a good review where a lady said that she keeps a copy in her bag, so if she's out and about and sees a child upset, she'll get the book out and
Well,
she'll
that's
engage
nice.
with it. Yeah, yeah, and it's like
Hmm.
seeing stuff like that, because I mean, I like we all do, we all suffer from our own kind of demons and stuff, and I go into that imposter syndrome place where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like the book's helping, and then I look back at all these great reviews I've had, and it's like, it is really making an impact, and people love the illustrations. They say how unique this is, how different it is to everything else out there.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so there's been lots of yeah, fantastic reviews, and I really appreciate the support of people.
So, is there a particular character or a particular story or emotion that seems to resonate with people, or particularly with children?
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag really. I'm trying to recall because I did a few preschool readings online, and there was a few emotions they liked, but I think it was more of kind of how the character looked,
Sure.
or the color of the emotion.
Hmm.
Um, but I know you get a lot of these kind of like you see online, like various colors refer to various emotions. Whereas my thinking is, this is why I did the coloring book, is like a child might think relate a different color to an
Right.
emotion. So yeah, so I was getting all kinds of yeah different favorite characters and stuff, and like I think angry was quite a good one because I think when people think of anger, they think, oh, it's quite a scary emotion to deal with. Whereas in the book, in the first draft, I did accidentally make angry look a bit too scary. So
Okay.
I went, yeah, so I had to revisit that.
Mm.
Yeah, make it look a bit more playful. So the angry emotion has, yeah, gone down really well with children. I think the confused emotion as well, with all the mix of different colors. I wanted to highlight that yeah, confusion can be a mix of different feelings and stuff. So I made it kind of a rainbow pattern. Jealous was a good one because I went for green, for like green with envy. So I made like a potato, and you know when potatoes go a bit green. So I made a potato like character for that, and so children are, oh, it looks like a potato, and yeah, they love that too. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's a variety of favorites out there.
Well, and I even like the emotions that you've chose because, with particularly younger children, it's happy, happy, sad, mad, glad. And that's about the extent of it.
Yeah,
But jealous,
yeah,
confused, that those are variations that are great to teach them at an early age. And like even, with the confusion, that idea of being able to feel more than one thing at the same time, and or
yeah,
not being sure about how you feel about something, is great to teach them at a young age so that they can feel comfortable saying that, like, I
yeah,
don't know right now how I feel, as opposed to a lot of times children feel like they've got to have a pat answer when an adult asks them something.
yeah, 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 yeah,
They've got to be
yeah.
clear. So I like that a lot. So how do you think that parents and educators can work together to create an environment which really fosters emotional intelligence and supports children's mental health?
Yeah, so it ties in with giving a safe space, really. Like no matter where the child is, like whether that's at school or at home or at a friend's house, I think yeah, just creating us that safe space where conversation, excuse me, conversation can like flow easily, and there's no judgment on what the child's going to say. Like there's no offense taken by the adult if, like say, if a child says, "Oh, I don't like you," and not to take that personally and stuff. I think kind of going into it with an objective mind, thinking like, okay, this is just an emotion. This is not like a definite, like what they're how they're feeling now about this is you know that can change. So I think yeah, just providing that safe space really is the most important. I think we all want to feel safe when we're upset. And sometimes we like if we're in the workplace in the office, for example, and we're something's really made us feel sad or something, and we go out to cry in the toilet or we wait till we get home, and that's a lot of pressure on someone really. It's like you feel that builds up the shame, and I think shame is the biggest part of dealing with emotions, because if we can remove the shame from feeling these natural feelings,
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to be able to communicate about how we're feeling, and then we're going to get our needs met. Or if we can't get our needs met, come to a compromise and a solution on that where we do feel safe and secure. So, yeah, just kind of like, I guess, encouraging adults, like if they are feeling that they might be getting frustrated because a child isn't responding how they want to, then just to take a step back and think in the child's shoes, like if they were upset and they didn't know how to communicate how they're feeling, what would they want from another person? They want someone to kind of tell them everything's going to be all right. Like, you can express how you feel. I'm not going to take offense to it. Let's work on that together, and then yeah, hopefully more and more conversations will occur like that in schools and at the home too.
Okay. Now, can you tell us how we can follow the work you've been doing and any new projects that you have coming up, whether it's your website, social media, anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my website, it's that's okay. So OKAY .co.uk. So yeah, I mean, because I love producing this kind of thing, and like we're talking about the reviews and stuff, and seeing photos of people sending of their children getting involved. Yeah, it's just making me want to do more and more things like this. So I've created a children's book on climate change, which I think
Oh,
ties
wonderful.
in to emotions as well, with like climate anxiety. That's something come a term that's come about recently, where we are feeling anxious about the world, and that's understandable. Like, it's a big task, and there's
Hmm.
it's got a big impact. So I think empowering children at a young age to recognize that they can do something
Hmm.
about climate change. Like, it doesn't have
Sure.
to be massive. Like, a kid can't invest in solar panels or anything like that, but they can like save water or buy local food. Like, there's a task in there, or a little project rather, to do make play day from homemade products rather than going out to the shops and buying it.
Hmm.
So I think there's a good tie into that. I'm also, so that's out now. Also working on a guided meditation in the same style of That's Okay. So whereas That's Okay is a guidebook and reference point to help people or children understand their emotions and feelings.
Okay.
The guided meditation is a tool to try and help them relax when they are feeling distressed. So kind of building on that tool set. So I hope that will
Wonderful.
be ready soon. So that'll be an animation and a book. And I was gonna create like, because I've got audio books as well for the other ones, but for
Hmm.
the guided meditation, I was gonna have kind of just the music and offer to parents so they can record their own voice, like, and read the book, and then they've got their own audio book, and the child has a familiar voice from a parent. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so
children
that's
love
going on.
that. I
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
do that when my children were younger, because like when I traveled and I'd leave, they'd have the tape, the recording of me reading the stories to them.
No, nice, nice. Yeah,
They
I bet they
love that.
responded well to that. Yeah, it's that
Yes.
familiarity. That's all about that. That's that safe building that safety, isn't it? That familiarity,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
consistency is key to feeling safe and secure. And yeah, parents' voice being
Hmm.
heard over and over again in a calm way. That I think that's really key to that. And yeah, I think it's a nice thing to do for the child as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, working on a book, similar versions of That's Okay for older children. So it'd be a kind of bit more in depth than this one.
Hmm.
I think from what we're seeing with like teenage mental health at the moment, that seems to be. I think we're entering a kind of a crisis period with that, and
I
I
agree
think
with you.
yeah, we need to enable like teenagers to understand their emotions too, because I think when I was a teenager, I don't know what was going on in my head a lot of the time, and I
Right.
think you just need guidance with that.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, plenty of stuff. I can never sit still, really. That's
Well,
I just want to, yeah.
I understand you have something for the participants. You have a free gift or something that you wanted to give them. How can they grab that?
Yeah, so if they head to the website that's okay.co.uk, there's a button so we claim your free gift. So if they click on that, then they'll be able to download free versions of the ebooks and also the colouring sheets, which they can print off as well.
Okay.
So there'll be the climate change one on there too. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity to kind of have a look at the books. I think each free version contains about half of the main book, so it gives parents an opportunity to try it for free. Like things are quite expensive now, so I think it might not work in all cases. So I don't want to charge people for something that it might not work in their situation. So by offering this, I hope that they can use it, and I hope they do get results like many people
Sure.
have. Yeah, and then I'll keep producing materials like that hopefully they can use in the future.
Okay, and so tell us one more time the link where they can go again.
Yeah, so that's okay. So okay an AY as opposed to just okay. So that's okay.co.uk.
Okay, okay. So that's okayay.co.uk.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I think you were just very transparent about what you feel, what you've experienced, and what you see that young children need, and to help them on the road to really having a nice toolkit of emotional intelligence for their journey, because we all need it. So, thank you again.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay.